In a remote African village, a young orphan named Amma is denied shelter by her cruel stepmother for 100 days. What happens next changes her life forever. Will she find safety, strength, and hope, or will the past catch up to her? Where are you watching from? Share your city in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next chapters of Amma's incredible journey. The sky over the village of Aburi burned orange as the sun slipped behind the hills. Small footsteps padded along the dry earth, steady yet heavy. Amma Naira, barefoot and worn, carried a bucket of water on her head, the kind of task far too big for a girl her size. Her skin, sun-darkened and dry, glistened with sweat. But her eyes, silent, sunken, spoke of burdens she never chose to carry. The home ahead was made of cracked mud walls and rusted tin sheets. Standing by the entrance was a tall, thin woman in a faded green wrapper. Efua, her stepmother. Her arms were folded. Her face was stiff. And when she spoke, her voice was sharp enough to cut through bone. "You're late. The floor is still dirty. Has the soup been stirred? And why is that bucket half full?" Amma didn't answer. She never did. Words never softened Efua's punishments. In silence, she lowered the bucket with careful hands, picked up the short broom made of stiff grass, and began to sweep the dust-stained floor. There was a time when this house echoed with laughter. When her mother, Nyamkai, would hum while weaving colorful cloth under the mango tree. That was before the fever. Before the grave. Before her father, Kwabena Mensa, tried to rebuild what was lost by marrying Efua from the city. Amma kept sweeping, her little hands trembling as she worked. She heard the clanging of pots in the back, Efua's voice scolding again. The sun dipped lower, shadows lengthened, and still no one asked if she had eaten. There was no warmth in this house. No tenderness. No embrace. Just work, silence, and the slow ache of being forgotten. Night fell over Aburi like a thick blanket. The village lights were few, and the silence outside was broken only by the chirping of crickets and the occasional bark of a dog in the distance. Most children were already tucked into beds, their mothers humming lullabies or whispering good-night prayers. But not Amma. She stood near the back of the compound, holding a thin mat under her arm and a torn piece of cloth over her shoulders. The wind was cold. Her eyes looked to the main house, where the lights were still on. Inside, Efua sat with a plate of yam porridge and grilled tilapia, laughing on the phone with her church friend. The aroma of food teased Amma's empty stomach. But there was no invitation. There never was. Efua stepped out briefly and called down from the doorway. "You want a place to sleep? Go find space among the goats. At least they won't complain like your dead mother." Amma didn't flinch. Not anymore. The words used to hurt. Now they simply echoed. She turned and walked toward the broken wooden structure near the fence. Once a goat shed, now her only shelter. The roof had gaps that let in rain, and the floor was hardened mud. One small goat still lived there, tied in a corner. Amma laid her mat beside it, curled into herself, and tried to block the wind with the edge of her cloth. As she closed her eyes, she could still remember her father's voice. "I'll always protect you, Amma." But he was gone. It had been months since the truck crushed his bicycle on the road to the market. People said it was an accident. Others whispered about Efua's strange visit to a herbalist days before. Amma never knew what to believe. She only knew that when her father died, the love in her life was buried with him. Tonight, like many nights before, she would fall asleep to the smell of goat dung, the sting of hunger, and the sound of her own heartbeat echoing in the dark. She didn't cry. Not anymore. She simply waited, for morning, for kindness, or maybe just for a day when someone might notice. The clouds gathered above Aburi by mid-afternoon, dark and swollen. The villagers looked up from their stalls and hurried to cover their goods with plastic sheets. Chickens scattered, goats bleated, and the air grew thick with the scent of rain and red dust. Amma was in the backyard, her fingers soaked in soap water, scrubbing Efua's church dress against a stone. Her knees were pressed to the wet ground, and her arms trembled with effort. She had been washing clothes since midday, with no lunch, no break. Only the rhythm of scrubbing and rinsing. The first drops began to fall. Big, heavy, cold. She paused, looking up at the sky with half-closed eyes. The rain felt like needles on her scalp. She didn't mind. It reminded her she was still alive. But then Efua appeared at the doorway, holding her wooden spoon like a weapon. "You want to spoil my dress, you useless rat?" Amma tried to explain. It was drying, then the rain. Before the sentence ended, the spoon cracked against her back. Once, twice. Then Efua grabbed her arm and yanked her up with such force that the basin tipped over, spilling soap water into the mud. "Do you think I feed you so you can ruin everything I own?" Efua screamed, her voice echoing through the compound. "You think you're a princess? Your mother left you cursed." Amma didn't scream. She didn't fight back. She stood there as the rain poured over them both, soaking her torn clothes, mixing with the tears she refused to let fall. Efua stormed back inside, slamming the door behind her. The neighbors heard everything. They always did. But they stayed behind their curtains, pretending not to see. Everyone knew Efua had power in the church. Power over tongues. And no one wanted trouble with a widow rumored to speak with spirits. Amma knelt again, picking up the dress that was now soaked and dirty. Her fingers bled from the scrubbing. The rain kept falling. But deep inside, something in her heart hardened like clay left in the sun. She would not cry. Not anymore. 2 days passed since the rain. The bruises on Amma's back had turned deep purple. She moved slower now, her right shoulder stiff, but she never showed pain. Not to Efua. Not to anyone. Late in the afternoon, after fetching firewood from the edge of the forest, Amma passed the old mango tree by the village square. Its roots were thick like ropes, and its branches reached over the dusty path like arms offering shade. Underneath it sat an old woman with a scarf tied low over her forehead. Her eyes were pale, almost milky, and her voice trembled when she spoke. Her name was Nana, and some said she used to be a healer before her mind slipped away. But today, as Amma passed, Nana's voice cut through the air. "You." The girl in torn shoes. Amma stopped, her feet halfway on the path, unsure whether to run or listen. Nana lifted a bony finger and pointed at her. "Your mother still walks with you. Even in the dark. Even when your skin aches." Amma's mouth opened slightly, but no words came. "You carry fire," Nana said, tapping her own chest with her fingers. "Not all can see it, but I do. It's buried now, but one day it will burn." The wind rustled the leaves above them. Somewhere nearby, a chicken squawked and flapped its wings. Nana leaned closer, her eyes staring through time. "Efua fears you. That's why she beats you. She sees what you'll become." Amma felt something twist inside her. Fear, maybe. Or hope, pretending to be fear. Before she could speak, Nana gave a short laugh, then turned away, talking to herself and picking at her skirt. Amma stood there for a while. The firewood felt heavier in her arms now. Or maybe it was the weight of those words. When she reached home, she found Efua asleep on a bench, snoring softly. Amma stepped past her like a shadow. That night, as she lay beside the goat, staring at the stars through the broken roof, she whispered to herself, "She sees what I'll become." The words sounded strange in her own voice, but they stayed with her, warming her like embers beneath the cold floor. Morning brought the clang of metal pots and Efua's sharp tongue. The churchwomen were coming for a prayer meeting, and Amma had been ordered to clean the veranda, sweep the yard, and polish the old teacups Efua only brought out for special guests. Amma worked in silence. She scrubbed the floor with a brush so worn it had no bristles left. Her fingers were raw, her knees bruised. Still, she moved with precision. One mistake could mean another beating. Maybe worse. Inside the kitchen, she reached for the top shelf where the glass cups were kept. One by one, she brought them down, hands trembling slightly. The last cup was different. White, with a gold rim and a small crack running through its side. It slipped. Time slowed. The cup hit the edge of the counter, bounced once, then shattered on the floor. Silence. Then the thud of Efua's footsteps. She appeared in the doorway like a storm cloud, eyes wide with disbelief. "What did you do?" Amma froze, her hands hovering over the shards. "It slipped," she whispered. Efua didn't ask more. She lunged forward and slapped Amma so hard her head snapped to the side. Then again. and again. You wicked child! You bring curses into this house. That cup was from my wedding. Amma crouched, her arms shielding her face, but the blows kept coming. From outside, a cough sounded. Someone had arrived. Efua paused, panting, her chest heaving. She looked out the window and saw Deacon Mosi, an elder from the church, walking through the gate with 2 other women in white robes. Her voice turned sweet in an instant. Amma, clean that quickly. Don't let the guests see your mess. Amma didn't look up. She gathered the shards, her fingers bleeding. Inside, Efua welcomed the guests with laughter and hymns. Outside, in the backyard near the goat pen, Amma buried the broken pieces of the cup beneath the mango leaf pile. She didn't cry. She didn't shake. But her hands wouldn't stop bleeding. She sat on the dirt, pressing her palms together, whispering to no one. 100 days. 100 days. No one knew what she meant. But Amma had started counting. That evening, Amma lay under the small window of her room, staring at the moon as it cast pale light over the cracked walls. The house was quiet now, except for the distant chatter from the church choir practicing hymns nearby. Her thoughts were heavy, but there was one small hope. Earlier that day, while sweeping the front porch, she found a folded piece of paper tucked behind a loose brick near the doorway. The edges were frayed, and the ink was smudged, but the words were clear. It was a letter. The letter was from her late mother, Ajoa, written before she passed. Amma had never known about it. Her hands trembled as she unfolded it carefully. My dear Amma, if you are reading this, I am no longer with you. But know that my love never leaves your side. You are stronger than you realize. When the days grow dark, remember the fire within you. One day, you will rise from the ashes like the morning sun. Hold on, child. Hope is your shield. Amma closed her eyes tightly. Tears slipped quietly down her cheeks, but she wiped them away with the hem of her skirt. The letter was a lifeline, a whisper from the past urging her not to give up. She tucked the letter beneath her pillow and made a silent promise. I will find the fire. But the shadows outside grew longer. The night was coming, and with it, the weight of Efua's anger. Amma did not yet know what awaited her in the days to come. But she felt the beginning of a change, a quiet power stirring deep inside. The village was alive with color and sound as the annual festival of masks began. Drums echoed through the streets, and children ran laughing between the decorated stalls selling woven baskets, carved wooden figurines, and sweet palm wine. Amma watched from the shadows near the marketplace. Her feet were bare, and her dress was patched, but tonight she wore a thin cloak her mother had left behind. It was old, faded green, but wrapped tightly, it felt like armor. Efua had ordered her to stay inside, but Amma had slipped out when no one was looking. She needed to breathe the night air, to feel the life beyond the walls that trapped her. The villagers danced in circles, their faces hidden behind colorful masks painted with fierce eyes and bright feathers. Amma's eyes found a young boy juggling fire sticks near the big baobab tree. His laughter was free and wild. A sudden shout broke through the music. Stop! Thief! Stop him! A man sprinted past, clutching a stolen goat. The crowd gasped and scattered. Amma's heart pounded. The thief was close, and so was the danger. Without thinking, Amma stepped forward, her voice clear and sharp. Let him go! You'll never catch him. The crowd froze, staring at the small girl with fierce eyes. Efua's voice boomed from the back. Amma, what are you doing? Get back here. But Amma's legs moved like the wind. She chased after the thief, slipping through the throng, her cloak fluttering behind her like a flag. The thief turned, startled by the sudden pursuit. Amma saw his face, a scared boy no older than herself. His eyes pleaded for mercy as he stumbled. Amma stopped just in time, catching her breath. Go, she said softly. Take the goat and never come back. The boy hesitated, then ran off into the darkness. The villagers whispered, watching Amma with new eyes. Some with fear, some with wonder. Amma stood tall, the cloak wrapped tight, the fire inside her glowing a little brighter. The night was thick with silence, broken only by the rustling of leaves outside Amma's small room. Moonlight spilled through the cracked window, casting long shadows on the earthen floor. Amma lay awake, clutching the letter from her mother beneath her pillow. Her heart beat loud in the stillness. Outside, the wind whispered secrets through the trees. Suddenly, a sharp crack shattered the calm, the sound of a window breaking. Alma's eyes snapped open. She sat up, breath caught in her throat. From the corner of the room, Efua's shadow moved, dark and slow. The stepmother had come to punish her for disobedience during the festival. Alma's mind raced. She knew tonight would be different. Quickly, she grabbed the small bundle hidden beneath her bed, the few belongings she had saved from years of hardship. Efua pushed the door open, her face twisted with rage. "You will pay for this, girl. You think you can defy me?" Alma stood, trembling but determined. "No," she whispered. "I will not." Before Efua could reach her, Alma slipped through the broken window. The cold night air hit her face like a wave. She dropped to the ground, careful not to make a sound. She ran into the forest, branches scratching her arms, the letter burning in her pocket. Behind her, the house glowed faintly in the moonlight, a prison left behind. Alma didn't look back. She only ran. Alma ran through the dense forest, her breath ragged and uneven. The trees loomed tall and dark above her, their leaves whispering secrets in the wind. Her feet stumbled over roots and stones, but she kept moving forward, driven by a fierce will to escape. After what felt like hours, she reached the edge of the forest where the river flowed quietly under the silver moonlight. The water shimmered, reflecting the stars above like scattered diamonds. There, sitting on a large rock by the riverbank, was a man she had never seen before. His skin was deep brown, his eyes kind but piercing. He wore simple clothes, and in his hand, he held a wooden flute. Alma hesitated. Fear and hope battled inside her chest. But something in the stranger's calm presence pulled her closer. The man looked up and smiled gently. "You should not be here alone, child," he said in a soft voice. "The forest holds many dangers." Alma nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. "I ran away," she admitted, "from a house where I was not wanted." The man's eyes softened. "My name is Kwame," he said. "I know what it means to be lost and forgotten. Come, sit by the fire." He reached behind the rock and pulled out a small bundle of dry leaves and sticks. Within moments, flames flickered and danced, casting warm light on Alma's tired face. For the first time in a long while, Alma felt safe. Kwame handed her a cup of warm tea brewed from wild herbs. "Rest now," he said. "Tomorrow, we will see what the future holds." Alma sipped the tea, letting the warmth spread through her body. The fire crackled, the river sang, and the night wrapped around them like a protective cloak. Morning broke over the horizon, painting the sky with soft shades of pink and gold. Alma woke by the riverside, the first light warming her face. Kwame was already tending to the fire, humming a quiet tune. He smiled when he saw her stirring. "Come," he said, "there is a village nearby, a place where you can be safe." Alma packed her few belongings, the letter from her mother tucked carefully inside her dress. She felt a strange mixture of fear and excitement. The journey to the village was slow but steady. The path wound through fields of tall grass and patches of wildflowers. Birds sang overhead, and the scent of earth and rain filled the air. When they arrived, Alma's eyes widened. The village was vibrant. Children played near a communal well, women wove colorful cloths, and men repaired huts with laughter and song. Kwame led Alma to a small house at the village's edge, where a kind woman greeted them. "This is Nana Alma," Kwame introduced her. "She will help you find your place here." Nana Alma embraced Alma, her eyes full of warmth. "You are welcome here, child," she said. "This village believes in healing and new beginnings." For the first time in months, Alma felt a spark of hope. She watched the villagers, their smiles and kindness like a balm for her wounded spirit. But deep inside, the memories of her past still lingered, waiting for the day she would face them again. Days passed in the village like gentle waves, carrying Alma further from the pain of her past. The villagers welcomed her with open arms, teaching her their songs and stories, their dances and crafts. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the village gathered around the fire for the healing dance, a sacred ritual meant to cleanse the heart and soul. Alma stood among them, her feet bare on the warm earth. The drums began, deep and steady, pulsing like a heartbeat. Women chanted in voices rising and falling, weaving a spell of strength and renewal. Amma closed her eyes, letting the rhythm fill her. She felt the weight of loneliness and fear begin to lift, replaced by a growing courage. As the dance reached its crescendo, Amma opened her eyes and saw the faces around her shining with hope and belief. For the first time, she believed in herself. But in the quiet corners of her mind, a question whispered: would the past truly stay behind, or was the final test still to come? The peaceful days in the village were suddenly shattered by the arrival of a stranger riding a worn horse along the dusty path. The man wore a wide-brimmed hat that shadowed his face, and his presence carried the weight of unspoken intentions. Amma noticed the villagers falling silent as he approached Nana Amma's house. Kwame stepped forward cautiously, greeting the stranger with a wary nod. The man's voice was low and commanding as he spoke. "I am searching for a girl. A child who fled from Efua's house. Have you seen her?" Amma's heart pounded fiercely. She remained hidden behind a cluster of trees, watching as Kwame's calm eyes met the strangers with quiet defiance. "No one here hides those in need," Kwame said. "But this village protects its own." The stranger's gaze sharpened, and for a moment, tension crackled like lightning in the air. Amma's breath caught. Was this the end of her new beginning, or the start of something even darker? The sun hung low, casting long shadows across the village as the stranger's presence unsettled the calm. Amma watched from behind the trees, heart pounding like a drum in her chest. Kwame stood firmly before the stranger, his voice steady but firm. "You will not take her. This village is her sanctuary now." The stranger's eyes narrowed, and a sinister smile curled on his lips. "Efua has powerful allies," he warned. "You cannot hide a girl like her forever." Suddenly, footsteps thundered from the path. Several villagers appeared, armed with wooden staffs and determined faces. The village had rallied to protect Amma. Amma stepped out from the shadows, her gaze unwavering. "I am not afraid," she declared. "I will face whatever comes, but I will not go back to a life of fear." The stranger's expression flickered with surprise and something else, respect, perhaps. The air was thick with tension, but Amma felt a new strength rising within her. The fight was not just for her freedom, but for her future. As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, the village stood united, a wall of strength and hope around Amma. The stranger, seeing the resolve in their eyes and the fire in Amma's spirit, slowly lowered his gaze. "You may have won this day," he said quietly. "But remember, the past never truly lets go." Amma felt no fear now. The chains of her past were breaking with every breath, every heartbeat. Kwame placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "This is your home," he said softly. "And here, you will grow stronger." The villagers began to sing, their voices rising in celebration of survival, courage, and new beginnings. Amma looked toward the rising sun, its golden light bathing the world in warmth. A new dawn had come, and with it, the promise of a life shaped by her own hands.